Hey guys, it's Deanna Lee, or some of you know me as Dee or Deanna Cook. Well, my author name is Deanna Lee. Keep that in mind. So, first of all, look at my amazing bedroom. There's the vanity with my banner from graduation and some other cool little memorabilia. And then if you go this way, I have my great bookshelves and desk area. It's all decorated and cute. And I have my adorable bed. And yes, I have stuffed animals, don't you? So, along with that, I've been jamming out to Reliant K Radio, which right now is playing Paramore, which is pretty rad. But, even bigger than that, there's something that you guys may not have known that has happened recently. And it is this. Can you see the name? Look at you guys. The Home of Our Hearts. It's my book. It's here. I'll even show you my name on the inside cover. Look. Deanna Lee. You guys! It's here! It's done! And that means that very extremely soon, like in a week or so, it will be in your hands. So, to get the hype going before it's actually released, I'm going to be reading an excerpt that might be just a great little prelude before you actually start the book. Okay, so let's see. That pain had been constantly on her mind since 1919 when that terrible storm hit Texas. She was only 10 at the time. She went out to the creek to find her daddy to tell him what Joey Harper had done that time. "Daddy!" she called as she stormed early from school through the trees. She snapped so many branches off the trees in her anger that she made a completely clear path where she walked through the woods that day. She found her dad at their secret fishing spot, where she frequently joined him despite school hours. He was standing erect, his clean hair swishing in the wind, a fishing pole in his hand, and an empty lunchbox by his side. He wasn't drunk. He hadn't ever drunk beer, and his little girls were proud of him for that. Yes, the four of them were a perfect family. They were so happy. Her mother, Annabeth, her father, Harson, and her beautiful older sister, Joanne. Yes, they were very happy. "Daddy!" Vicky, or Victoria as she used to be called, shouted as she came up behind him. "Yes, Bug," he answered her. His nickname for her had always been Bug because of her love for the outdoors. "Joey Harper did it again, Daddy," she steamed. "Did what?" "He tried to kiss me." "Oh, really now?" he said, kneeling in front of her. "Well, not really. He drew us kissing in his notebook and then gave it to the teacher as his homework for art class. The teacher thought I was in on it, so she failed my drawing that I worked so hard on." Tears started to stream down her face. "Let me see that drawing, darling. It's no failure, I promise." "Mrs. Adams still got it, and she wrote a big fat F in the corner of it, too." "Oh, really? Well, I'm just going to have to write a big fat F all over her face then. If you keep fishing for me, I'll be right back with your pretty picture so we can hang it up on the fridge." And he followed her path back through the trees. Victoria almost felt better as she fished, although she was still a bit mad at Joey Harper. "Stupid Harper," she thought as she put her first catch away in the half-full fish bucket. "He must be really dumb to do something like that. He should be switched all right. He should be switched real good." As she fished, she didn't notice the rising wind, but her mother back at home did and knew exactly what it meant. "Harson! Harson!" Victoria heard through the wind in the trees. That was her mama. She was worried about Daddy. What was wrong? "Mama, over here!" she called as loud as possible. "Victoria, is that you, honey?" she heard her mom scream. "Yes!" she screamed back, making her way through the trees where she thought her mother's voice was coming from. She had no idea that she was walking right into the path of the twister. The wind got stronger and stronger as she kept walking. She tried to find her way out of the woods, but there were too many leaves blowing into her face and too much dirt in her eyes to see where she was going. She was really scared now. "Mama! Mama!" she kept screaming. "Mama!" There was never any answer to her ever-pleading cries. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know where to go. The wind wouldn't stop. It just kept howling, howling, howling. As the ruthless wind shrieked through the trees, she thought she heard her mom speak. "Don't forget to find the hole and lay as flat as a piece of paper, Victoria. It's coming right for you." She fell to her knees in panic. "Mommy, you have to find a hole too!" she yelled at the top of her lungs, hoping her mom would hear her. There was no answer. She crawled forward, searching with her hands, looking for safety. More dirt blew in her eyes every moment, but she couldn't stop. She mustn't. It seemed ages before she found a hole under a hollow tree and safety was supposedly reached. She shimmied into the hole and grabbed the root protruding out of the ground with both of her hands. As soon as she had gripped the strong root, the wind got so strong it sucked all the breath from her lungs. She gasped for breath. Her lungs burned for lack of air. She just wanted this to stop, for it to be over and gone. What was happening? Suddenly, everything was quiet, and she could breathe again. Even though it was only a ragged, harsh breath, she could breathe. She looked up. The tree she had hidden in had flown off, and another, a huge oak, had toppled over and was almost covering her hole. She peeked cautiously above it. What happened to all the trees? She immediately thought, rubbing her eyes and blinking rapidly. She could see about for miles. All the damage was before her eyes in a glance. Debris was falling from the sky. Trees were strewn about everywhere, ripped out of the ground, mangled, leafless. A house was upside down a little ways away from where she lay hidden, safe. Whose house had it been? She looked into the sky and saw huge gray clouds starting to disperse. It was cold and wet and scary everywhere she looked. The school was no longer sitting up on its small hill. The Larson's girl's house was gone. She came slowly out of the hole, her safety net. She turned in circles trying to find something she knew, something safe. She soon found it lying on the ground opposite the upside-down house. It was her mama. She ran towards her glimpse of hope. Her mom always knew what to do. Her mama would get her out of this. "Mama!" she yelled as she got close enough to be heard. There was no answer. She ran even faster, wondering why her mom was not moving, not saying anything. She fell to her small knees next to her and turned her over. Dark red blood was flowing from the large gash in her forehead, and her arm was hanging to her shoulder by nothing but a few scraps of skin. "Mommy?" she whispered. Surprisingly, her mother's brown eyes fluttered open. "Victoria?" she whispered faintly, her eyes never focused. "Victoria?" She coughed up blood, spilling it all over her daughter's frock. Victoria was too horror-struck to cry. She quickly said, "I'm here, Mommy." She took her head in her arms and brushed some leaves and dirt away from the wound that dominated her forehead. Her mother's eyes grew very wide in pain, and she screamed out. "Mommy!" Victoria was almost crying now. Somehow she knew that her mom was leaving her. "Baby," her mom said, finally bringing her gaze to her daughter's face, "make sure everyone stays safe for me. Tell Joanne I love her and take real good care of your daddy for me. He'll need you more than ever now." All this was said in a slow, husky voice, and as she continued in a barely audible voice, she said, "I love you, Victoria. Never forget." And then she died, holding her terrified daughter's hand. And so that is part of the chapter called The Nightmares. And this is before the book actually started, obviously, because in the beginning she's actually more like 29 years old. And this scene dictates the entirety of the book, because she made a promise to her mom in this scene that she would take care of her dad, who during the course of the story is a drunk. And so she has to make some decisions throughout the story whether or not she's going to take this promise that she made and do whatever it takes to fulfill it, or if she's going to let her past leave with the wind. So basically this book is going to be coming out very soon on Amazon, on the CreateSpace eStore, and after a little while after that it will be in some bookstores and hopefully in my church's bookstore. But I haven't really talked to them about that yet, so that's not for sure yet. But hopefully I will be able to distribute it to a wide range of stores like Barnes & Noble, or it definitely will be in the Kindle eStore. It'll be there for sure. And so if you're looking for updates, make sure you go to my Facebook page. You can go to www.facebook.com/DeannaLeeWrites, and there will be a link in the description for that. So be looking out, because very, very soon you'll be able to see what Victoria decides to do with this part of her life. And I hope it helps you guys, and I hope it blesses you, and I hope that you guys see God's heart in this story, and that It is entertaining and easy read and a great thing to be reading during school, this super busy time. And I hope that you guys will be checking back with me very soon, and I hope you all will like my Facebook page, because the 100th like will get a free copy of this book. And so I'll see you guys around. Have a great Monday.